New Westminster War Veterans Oral History Project. Today's date is October 29th, 2001. The interviewee is Mr. Robert Hinksman. Okay, Mr. Hinksman, what is your full name?
It's Robert Wilford Hinksman.
And can you tell me your date and place of birth?
I was born in New Westminster at Royal Columbian Hospital, March the 20th, 1925.
What is your marital status?
I'm married.
And do you have...
I have 4 children.
What are their names and ages?
John, he was born in 54. Heather, she was born in 51, and Mary was born in 52, and Bill was born in 58.
Do you have any grandchildren?
I have 7 grandchildren.
Good.
I have one great-grandchild.
Oh, right on. Okay, were your parents from New West?
My dad was born in Nanaimo, and my mother was born in Liverpool.
Okay. And how did they make it over to New Westminster?
My mother came over after the First World War, and I guess met my dad over here in this area.
Okay. So you've always been a New Westminster resident?
I was born in Westminster, and I lived here all my life pretty long.
Okay. Can you tell me your current address?
It's 1905, 740 Hamilton Street, New West.
And what about other places of residence before this?
When I was born, we lived on Sherbrooke Street, 729 Sherbrooke Street, across from Saffery Park. And then when I was 16, I moved to 10th Avenue. And after the war, when I came back, I bought a house on 8th Avenue by First Street. There's some new houses being built there. And I bought a house there, and then when I got married, I moved to Carroll Street in Westminster. And then I moved to 20th Street, and then I moved to Blackman Street. Now I'm living on 7th Avenue.
So what branch of the armed forces were you enrolled in?
I was in the Army, and my service overseas, I was with the Regina Rifles. That was the regiment I was assigned to. From here.
And what was your rank?
I was a rifleman.
You're a rifleman? And always a rifleman?
Always a rifleman. When I first went to France, I was with the Reginas, but they sent me to a replacement for the First Canadian Parachute Battalion, so I was a trooper at that time.
Right.
But then when the paratroopers went back to England towards the end of August, I went back to Regina Rifles.
Okay. Okay. When did you enroll in the armed forces? And where?
I was in Vancouver. I think it was around March 1943.
Okay. And why didn't you enroll here in New West?
Well, the depot was in Vancouver.
Oh, okay. I see. So, how did your family feel about it?
Well, my dad had already passed away, so it was just my mother, and I had a mother and a sister. So I guess it was pretty much up to me to make a decision. I did.
Yeah, yeah. How old were you when you
were 18?
You were just 18.
18.
Okay, and when you enrolled, did you enroll with friends, or did you just decide on your own?
No, it was by myself.
Yeah. Okay. So how many years of service did you complete?
Well, it was about 2.5 years.
2.5 years? Okay, and when were you discharged from duty?
It was about August 45.
August 1945. Okay, so when you heard that Canada had declared war on Germany, what were your feelings?
Well, I just was, I'd not thought about war up till that time, and my dad was in the First World War, so I knew that he had served in the Army. I guess that's why I went to the Army, because my dad was in the Army.
Did you feel like, were you upset about the war, or was it something you were excited about?
I didn't really give it too much thought, excited or not excited. I didn't really think too much about it.
Right, okay. So where did you get training?
I went to Camrose in Alberta for my basic training, and then after basic training I went to advanced training. It was in Calgary at Curry Barracks, and then I went from Calgary to Debert, Nova Scotia. And from Debert I went over to England.
Okay. Did you do training in England as well?
Yes, we did some training. We were pretty much training all the time.
Yeah. I bet. Tell me, take me through an average day of training camp.
Well, I guess in advanced training, you always got up early in the morning, it seemed. You were going all day. You'd either be on a route march, or you'd be in rifle training, or you'd be in unarmed combat training. And it took up the full day. And by the end of the day, after supper, you're either cleaning your rifle or your equipment, and you didn't have too much time to do too much of anything else.
Right, right. Did you ever go on leave before you went across?
After my advanced training, before I went to Debert, I got something right. I also took a NCO's course in Calgary before I went to Debert. I took it a couple of months.
What's NCO?
That's non-commissioned officers.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so you went on leave. Did you just come back to see the family?
I just came back home to see my mother and my sister, and it was like, I think it was 14 days. And then from then I went back to Calgary, then we were shipped out right away to go to Debert.
Okay. Okay, so tell me about the journey across the Atlantic.
Yeah, well, that was pretty rough. It took us 13 days to cross the Atlantic, and then we ran into a big storm. Went across on the ship, the Pasteur. It was made for the Mediterranean, but on the Atlantic Ocean it was just bobbing and weaving there pretty good, and the waves came right over top of this big ship.
No kidding.
That was how bad the storm was.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What's an average time it used to take for a ship to go over?
Well, I think the Queen Mary and them, they went over in about 5 or 6 days, but it took us 13 days to go over.
Is everybody sick?
Everybody was sick, and the worst part was that everybody was sick the first day, and I was telling everybody I was from the West Coast and I was used to all this ocean and everything, but by the second day I was as sick as anybody. I was sick for all the rest of the time.
No kidding, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Were you the only guy there from the West Coast?
Well, I don't know. I imagine there were other West Coasters there too, but not in the particular group I was with.
Right. Sounds like an experience. What were you guys guarded by other ships when you went across?
No, we were just by ourselves. They used to change course every 7 minutes. That was part of the problem being in a storm, because they figured that a submarine took 10 minutes to set up the rangefinder and the torpedo and all that stuff, so they figured it was a 10-minute thing, so that if they changed course every 7 minutes, then they should avoid getting torpedoed.
Oh, I see.
That was the plan.
And you guys made it over.
Yep.
So, when you arrived in Britain, where did you go?
I arrived in Liverpool, and then we went to a place where all the Canadians go there first. Can't think of the name, but now it's the barracks. Even in the First World War, the Canadians went there.
Is that Burma?
No, this is, I can't think of the name of it.
That's okay.
So, and then after that, they just got us organized there for a week or so, and then they sent us down to the south of England and did training there in a place near Reading, in the first place I was in.
So what was the date, or do you remember the date when you arrived in England? The season?
Yeah, it was in the winter time. It was close to Christmas when we got on the boat. And it was, so I guess 13 days after that.
Right. And then you were in England for a few months?
Yeah, I was there, I went to France. I landed in France on the 10th of June, 44. It was like 4 days after D-Day. Mm-hmm. I went over on a landing craft infantry, and 2 long stairways out the front, and they ran up on the beach and on the incoming tide, so when everybody left, the boat was supposed to be a little lighter and the boat could get away again.
So what was that like?
Well, it was, actually I had a good crossing there. It was only about, I think there was 4 bunks, and as luck would have it, I got into this place first and claimed one of the bunks, and so I actually went to sleep and didn't wake up until we got pretty close to the beach, so it was a real good crossing for me.
You had lots of sleep, eh?
Yeah.
So what was it like, jumping off that boat?
Well, it was, you just wondered what was happening. Actually, they were still shelling the beach when we came there, so we knew that the war was on. Like we were all ready to go on D-Day, but for myself, we were kind of left out of battle for a couple of days, and then we finally got on the boat and away we went. I was lucky that they got a big meal, steak and everything. This one day we were to get on the boat, and then we didn't get on the boat, and then the next morning, early in the morning, they took us off and gave us a great big breakfast. And so we had 2 good meals there. So that was pretty good.
That was good. Okay, so tell me, once you landed, you were on the beach, what was it like? What was Europe like? You were in France, obviously.
France, yeah. Well, it was like a war zone for sure. We were, there was an officer with us. There was only about, I guess, 75 or 100 or something, maybe 150, I think it might have been, on this one boat. And we were just more or less by ourselves, and we had this young officer in charge, and I don't think he particularly knew what he was going to do, and we didn't, and so we just went on, and I guess, I don't know what his orders were. Anyway, first night, we just slept in a ditch up in the, we walked in about 2 miles or something like that. Yeah. So, and then you tried to find out what he was supposed to be doing. I don't think he really found out. There's a bunch of confusion around.
I bet. Did you ever meet up with other people, of the Allies?
Oh yeah, we moved on again the next day, and yeah, we ran into some of our troops at the rear, and then that's when the orders came through that I was to go to the airborne for a while, and then some of the others were told to go, up to the regiment. But I think it was about 25 of us out of that group that went to the airborne.
Was there a reason why it was you guys that were picked?
I guess, because orders came through, they wanted somebody, and
Right.
they wanted a number, I guess it was, and I think it was about 25, and I was one of the members.
Right. Okay, so you went with the airborne, and where did you head to?
Well, the airborne had dropped around the Orne River and the Orne Canal, and they were on the other side of the Orne River and the Orne Canal than the Canadian troops, and the airborne had to take this bridge. That was their objective on D-Day, and they did, and they were still holding that. They advanced. Some of them said that they were in Caen, dropped near Caen, and they, of course, had to come back because there's nobody else, no support for them. So,
right,
and they lost quite a lot of troops.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's why you were sent in, I guess.
Yeah.
So from then on, over the summer, you just fought? Is that what happened? Or?
Yeah, we were, with the airborne, we were close to a place called Troy. That was, I guess, a few miles from Caen. Actually, Caen was supposed to be taken on D-Day, but it never happened for a couple of months. So, and they were only about, I think Caen was about 20 miles from the beach, so it was kind of slow taking that. So we weren't that far inland, actually, 20 miles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what was a normal day like being on? Well, you were on the front lines, weren't you?
On the front lines, yeah. Well, some days there wasn't any shelling, and other times there'd be some shelling and mortars, and sometimes the Germans didn't have too many planes, but they made good use of the few they had. I know they came over our lines a couple of times and dropped anti-personnel mines and little bombs, but it's just a kind of a scary time when something happens. You're waiting all the time for something to happen, and you don't know when it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So did you tent out? Is that how?
Oh no, I dug a hole. We always dug a little slit trench, and we usually had we'd dig it maybe. I was fairly short, and the guy I was with, he was fairly tall, so we had kind of a little step in our slit trench so I could see over top and get out. And we'd make it hardly 2 feet wide and maybe about 5 feet long, and about depending on how much time you had, you'd make it just deep enough so you could stand in it if you could, or get below it, and it would go below the ground.
Right.
So 2 guys usually sat in the same little slit trench, and it protected you from shelling and things like that.
Right. And so a day, what would be the living conditions then?
Well, it's
an average day.
You wouldn't have, there's no facilities of any kind, Actually, it was, I guess, they were about a month into the campaign. They got water trucks that came close to the line, and they allowed you to take a turn and go back and fill up your water bottle from this water truck. I never remember, I cannot remember how the bathroom facilities went. I cannot remember doing one time.
Probably don't want to.
I guess not. I don't know how that worked. I just something I would think I'd not remember that, but I just don't.
Right. So how would it have been like then? You would have had a split trench, and then how would you advance?
Well, most of the time you'd try to advance, down a ditch or something like that, or on the side of the road, so that you could, when you're fired upon, you could jump into some place like that. Whenever you were moving along like that, you're thinking all the time, if I'm fired upon, where am I going to jump? That's what you're thinking every minute.
Okay. So, mail service. Did you get letters or send letters?
We didn't have much of a chance to write letters. I never, I guess it was about a month or 6 weeks into, it was about the middle of July or something, we had a break, and I was able to write a letter home. We never received any mail. I didn't.
Just because the postal service, or?
Well, it wasn't, they were busy bringing supplies and other things other than the mail.
Wasn't as high a priority, I suppose, eh?
No, there was nobody getting any mail, but towards later on in the campaign, like maybe 3 months down after D-Day, the mail was coming in.
So, were you ever injured?
I was wounded when I was captured.
Okay.
I had a grenade fragment that hit with that.
And so when you got hit with that, that's when you were captured. Is that right?
That's when, yeah.
Right. Where were you captured?
At the Leopold Canal. That's between the border, or pretty much between the border of Holland and Belgium.
Okay, so you made it all the way into Belgium then?
Yeah.
Right. And you're captured there by the Germans.
Yeah.
How did they treat your injury?
Well, I wasn't injured that bad, and I had a first field dress of my own. I had already put that on before I was captured, so I never got any first aid from the Germans after.
No. Do you mind describing the events leading up to the capture?
Well, at the Leopold, I was with the Reginas at this time, and the regiment had lost, had a lot of casualties. We had a couple of companies there. It was down to about 5 men each, and we were there from about the 6th of October, and then it was about something like the 15th of October. We were still on the canal. There was mud and that there, and then they told us there was about 12 of us to go out, and there was a lot of shelling going on there. Like our regiment, they used up more ammunition in that campaign than they did in any other campaign. And they told us to go out, I guess it was maybe 50 yards or something, and we dug a hole there. There was some firing going on from our side. I don't remember any incoming stuff, but so we dug little trenches out there, and the next day they said, "Oh, go out again another 500 yards or so," and so we did, and we didn't find any Germans there either. So, and but later on that day, I guess it was in the middle of the morning, I think it was about 25 Germans gave up. They walked up. We were in a field, but there was a road alongside the field, and they were marching up this road with a flag, and so we let them pass through to some others that were waiting down the end of the road. Everybody was jumping up and yelling because they figured the war must be over with all Germans giving up here. So it was a pretty good feeling. So I guess after they interrogated them a little bit later on that day, they sent us out again to go in a different direction, and it was just go to their fire department so that you could find out where they were.
Right.
And so they started lobbing a few mortars over us. They knew we were coming. They could see us from where they were, but there was no line resistance, so we kept on going, and I guess they just let us walk up as far as we wanted to, and so we ran into it's kind of like they got kind of dikes in Holland. They have mounds of dirt, maybe long rows, about 6 feet high, and as luck would have it, we stopped on this side, and the Germans were on the other side of us. So
no kidding.
We're throwing grenades at each other there. So.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How many of you would have there been?
There was, I think there was 12 of us.
That's it?
Yeah. So, then it was, there was a lot of firing going on, and it's a little exciting at that time.
And that's when you got hit by the...
Yeah.
And so did everybody, all 12 of them, get captured?
I'm not sure about that. No, I think there was some that didn't. And I don't know what happens to you, but you never kind of ask about it, anybody else, and because you don't really want to know.
Mm.
So you never ask the question.
Mm.
So I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you mind telling me about your time as a prisoner of war?
Well, we went on they put us on in a boxcar, and it was, by this time, maybe it was about a week after I was captured, and there were other Canadians there. I think there was about 50 of us, and they put us in one of these. They have smaller type boxcars over in Europe than we do here. And so, anyways, they put us in the boxcar. They'd thrown in a couple of bales of hay, and then we started out. And about 3 days later, we stopped someplace that was still in Holland, and there was a bunch of women there at this place, and they give us a meal. Like we stayed in the boxcar, they just handed in the food.
Mm. Were they Dutch women or?
Dutch women.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was potatoes and gravy and stuff like that.
Nice.
And it was good. And I think we got a drink of water there as well. I'm not sure. And then it was time to go, so they closed the doors, and away we went again. And I guess it was about another 3 days. We ended up and was in the rail yard in a place called Hamm in Germany, and there was an air raid going on, and in the rail yard, there was the rows of boxcars and stuff there, and the boxcar right beside us on another set of tracks, which was about 4 or 5 feet away. It was hit with an incendiary bomb, and it was blazing away there. And all the Germans ran away from the train, and then, after a while, everybody was panicking, trying to break the boxcar so we could get out. And anyways, one of the Germans came back with a key and unlocked the door, and we all got out and, tried to get out of the rail yard because the bombing raid was still going on. And some guys were so thirsty, they had these here water tanks. It was all steam engines in those days. They were sticking their heads in this big round tank to get a drink of water. It was all soot all over the water and come up with black faces. And I took off to the side of the rail yard as far as I could get away from the rail yard, and we found kind of a cement building there. I thought it was as safe as anything. So the raid went on for about another 15, 20 minutes or more. And I don't know whether it was, we were happy that the German let us out, or we didn't try to get away or anything, or stunned or whatever it was. We all came out, and so they loaded us back in the boxcar didn't burn up. It got all scarred, just didn't burn our boxcar. But so they put us back in there again.
Right. And so then they took you to, they must have taken you to camp of some sort.
Yeah, I went to Stalag 11B. That was a big camp. There was Canadians, Americans, French, and Polish, and all nations in this here camp.
All soldiers?
All, I think, I don't remember seeing other than Army type, but there could have been. We didn't get to see them. They had the Americans and the British and the Canadians were kind of a little bit separated from the rest of them. Prison camp there was, it had, there were thousands of prisoners there, and the bunks, there were 2 people in a bunk, and the bunks were 3 bunks high, and they were about 30 inches wide, and 2 people slept in there. This was in the winter time.
In the middle of the winter, right?
Yeah. And we got a bowl of turnip soup a day, and the soup was just like water, and the turnips were, you could just see a kind of a little wave of turnip inside there, like this, and then every once in a while they'd give us some potatoes, boiled potatoes with the skins on, at the same time as the soup.
So they didn't give you much, did they?
Not too much.
Jeepers. So was it all an awful experience being there?
It was, you just walked around, and you tried to just not think about it and just try to get through the next day or that day. And you never knew when the war was going to be over, because we had different other prisoners come in, and I guess that was at the time the Battle of the Bulge was on, and they were way back from where we thought the fighting was, so we didn't know whether we were still in the war or what.
Right.
So it was kind of, we were wondering just what the rest of your life was going to be like. But they did finally separate us from out of Stalag and put, it was 60 Canadians. We went to took us to another camp. It was a working camp. Like we had to we went to work. We worked on a place called Sully. It was on that particular place was in a rail yard too. And we used to get up in the morning early. We worked about 12 hours. We used to walk for, I guess, maybe about 40, 45 minutes. And there was a railroad station, and then we'd get on this here railroad car, and then they'd take us into the Sully Railroad Yard. And then what they wanted us to do there was, it had all been bombed too, so they were wanting us to straighten up the gravel and that underneath the ties so that the track would lay down flat again. And so when we were there, they used to come, and the British were, and the Americans, I guess, bombers would come over, and of course they had the sirens and everything there, so we were always happy because when they had the first sirens, the Germans, the guards we had there, they were wanting to get out of there. So were we, so they'd take us up in the hills. Of course, we'd sit up there and the planes would go over. They never actually bombed that rail yard when we were there, but we had to stop because there were planes come overhead.
Oh, a bit of a rest.
Yeah, and so we always used to kind of stall as much as we could too, so we wouldn't have to be working.
Right. When you were a prisoner working, did you feel like you were still a soldier?
I think I did. We kind of, I never gave up the feeling that you were a soldier. You were still a soldier. Yeah.
Did you ever try to sabotage anything?
Not so much there, but when we were sent to the salt mine, we did it quite a bit because this was way underground. Of course, we were working about 12 hours at that in the mine. And what we used to do is we'd get a pick, and they had lights in the mine, and they also had little trains that run on tractors. And our job was to, after they blasted, we would load the pieces of rock into these railroad cars. So if the guard was gone away wherever he went, we'd get a pick and jam it into one of these light sockets, and all the lights would go out in the mine.
Oh, yeah.
And so then it would take them, quite a while to find out which socket was screwed up, and so then they'd have to replace it, and maybe a couple of hours might go by.
Right.
In that time. So, but these were great big rooms. There were rooms the size of the arena in Queen's Park.
No kidding, eh?
They were real big. It was surprising how it was all hard rock mining.
Mm-hmm. Wow. How did the Germans treat you guys?
Well, most of the ones that were with us, after we got into the camp where we were working there, they were all like First World War veterans. And they weren't too hardline. They were trying to do their job the best they could. And, but I think as time went on, they began to realize that maybe they weren't going to win the war too. So it was, so they kind of, you could just tell they were just not as mean as they once were.
Right. Right. So how did you, you're here now. So you obviously got out of the camps.
Yeah,
Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, as the word came through the camp, like you're always getting rumors and you're always hearing this, that, and the other thing, and so word came through that the Allies were getting closer to where this camp was, and so they were saying that we were going to have to march out of this camp and head back up to go the other way, like, and that it was going to be like the next day they were going to do that. The word came that that's what they were going to do. So some of us were talking about, well, if the Allies are that close, maybe we could get out of here and get back, to our own lines. And so, anyways, the people I was with, talking to, decided against that idea, and so I was able to talk to the guard, and I was wanting to they had some water outside the guarded fence. They had 2 rows of barbed wire, maybe about 12 feet apart, all around us. And I don't know, I think the guard kind of knew what was up, and I think if there was any people there that was going to cause them a problem, they just assumed not have them there. So anyways, I was able to get away, and I did, and then I was running through the bush, and I just wanted to get away as far away as I could. And then I ran into, could see one of the towers, was a tower where they had a sentry tower. It was high up in the air, quite high. Didn't notice it earlier, but when I was kind of looking around pretty good to see what was going to happen to me, and so anyway, I seen this, so I dove into the bush. And as luck would have it, there was 2 other Canadians sitting in this bush there too, and they were looking up at this tower, wondering what they were going to do. And so we just decided to go together. I asked them if I could go along with these guys, and they said okay. And so I said, well, do you see anybody up in the tower there? And they said, no, they'd been there for a few minutes and not seen anybody. So he snuck around and ran through the bush as far away as we could get, and then night came, and so we wandered as far as we could at night, feeling that was the best time to travel. And we had we'd get like before the stars nearly come out and the moon comes out, it gets so dark you can just about not see anything. And we were walking along this here road, the side of the road, and then the guy in front of me, I was in the middle, there was 3 of us walking along there. He stopped all of a sudden, and I didn't realize he was stopping. I ran right into him. It was dark, and of course he then walked out on the pavement. We were walking on the side of the road. And then his feet go crobble on the road, and then there was Germans up the street there. They're yelling halt and all this other great stuff. And so we just took off. We walked into a town and didn't know it.
Oh, really?
And so...
Oh, because they had all the lights out.
Yeah, it was dark. Just really dark at the end. So we just ran through the streets and out the other side of a small place again, and then ran out into the bush, and we got the other side there. You could hear them yelling at each other, but by this time we'd gone away in the bush, and it was all dark, and they wouldn't know where to go. So, but they had a dog. There was a dog barking. We thought maybe the dog was going to come after us, but it didn't. And so we were pretty tired by this time because we were in very good shape, and so we rested there as long as we could, and we took off again. 2 or 3 days later, we came onto our own lines. We were kind of lucky how it happened, and it was just kind of you kind of believe, you're kind of hoping that these are the right guys.
Yeah.
But you never, I wasn't too sure. Like it was just before there was a truck blew up. We could see from where we were, and we could see that they were Germans. You can tell by the helmets they had on, and they ran through this field not far from where we were. And then, and there was a diked road where the traffic went, and there was a bunch of jeeps that were kind of, they were our jeeps, but we didn't feel like running out and say hi or anything, but because we wasn't that sure. You couldn't tell from where we were just whether they were our jeeps. And the next thing we knew, there was some tanks came along the road, and they had a star on it. We were pretty sure that they must be ours. And so we ran up close to the road when we got a chance. It was in the daylight. And so we didn't know what we're supposed to be doing now. So we went up and over the dike thing, and there was on the other side there was a big haystack, and so we kind of hid the best we could in the haystack, and then we heard a DR come down the road with a flash rider and we thought he looked like he was on our side, so we could hear the motorcycle because it was noisy, and so we ran out and waved at him and everything, and so he stopped, and he says, well, you can't do anything for us because he has to take a message somewhere else. So he assured us that he was a British DR, and so we kind of slid back down the bank of the road, and next thing, couple of armored cars, maybe about half a dozen of them was coming down the road. So we jumped up and waved at these guys again, and they said they were British armored cars, that they had just taken this town, just where it was, right where we were there. They'd just come through there, and so they didn't want to have anything to do with us either. So they said, "I'll go back into the town. Maybe somebody will send you on a truck or something." So we walked back into the town, which wasn't very far away. It was just a couple of 100 yards down the road. And so we were wondering what we were going to do now, and then a great big staff car with a bunch of generals, or U.S. generals, come along in this big staff car. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty funny that they got stopped, and of course they didn't know where they were going either, and we didn't. And so they asked us what we were doing there, and we said, well, we're just escaped prisoners of war. We're just trying to find out how we can get to someplace where we can get something to eat. That's all we were worrying about. And so this guy that I was with there, he says, you got any cigarettes? And the guy says, he was general there, and he pulls out a pack of cigarettes. It was an American. This guy takes the whole package, and he couldn't care less. Well, it was pretty funny at the time.
I bet. It must have been good to have a cigarette, though.
Anyways, so they left in a hurry, and then another American Jeep came along. There was two guys in that, and so we asked them, where are you guys at? And they said, well, they were looking for, they had the maps out, and they were looking for where they were supposed to go. And so they said, well, we'll go back. They're going back this way here. So they said, you want to ride? And we said, sure. So we climbed in in this Jeep, and he goes tearing down the road as fast as he could. There was no traffic on the road. I was screaming around the corner, and there was a great big tank, a big cross on it, a German tank right in front of us here. So we all peels out of the Jeep, figuring it was going to blow up any minute. And so one of the Americans there gave me one of their automatic machine guns they had there, and so him and I walked down to the tank. It was just sitting there. The gun wasn't moving up and down or anything, so it looked like it was abandoned, but it was sitting right in the middle of the road. And so we crawled down the ditch up close, right by the tank there, and tried to listen and see if we could hear anybody in there, and didn't hear anything. And so we came back to the other guys on the side of the road where the Jeep was, and we said we didn't hear nothing. And he says, well, okay, well, let's take a run for it. And we all jumped in the Jeep, and the guy spun the Jeep around in the middle of this dike road, headed back to where we are. And so he said, well, just let us off in this town, because that's where we were at Regina, so we know that place is safe. We don't get captured again. So anyways, as luck would have it, they said, well, we'll take you to where we're stationed. And then we said, well, where are you? They don't know. I got the map up, but this time it's dark. And so we just, there were some houses and that, and they were all abandoned. And so we just spent the night in one of the houses. Mm-hmm. So that was our first day back.
Wow. And did you get some food that day?
No. We didn't.
Jeepers.
Oh, yeah, one of the Americans, they had one of the little compo cookie type things that they got, like it's a hardtack kind of thing. They give us a couple of packages of them, so we had them.
So, you eventually made it back, obviously.
Yeah, we got back. Yeah.
And so when you got back over to England, what happened then?
Well, they put us in a hospital there, and they gave us 6 meals a day, like 2 breakfasts in the morning, a couple hours apart, and a couple of lunches, a couple of suppers. And so they kept us there for quite a while, and then you're putting on weight. The guys were just changing overnight. They're just putting on weight so quick.
You see, you guys were pretty skinny then, hey?
Oh yeah, everybody was really thin from the lack of food and that. But with some of the guys there that you'd met the first day, and after a couple of weeks you'd hardly recognize them. They were so heavy.
Really?
Yeah. Just put that weight on you like that. So they give us a couple of weeks leave, and when they give us the leave, they give us a great big box. It was like an apple box size of groceries and things like that to take it to wherever you went, because they didn't have too much in England either. So wherever you stayed, you'd take this box. And I had relatives over there, so I went to see the relatives and give them my box of goodies there. So.
Just to go back just a little bit, what was the day? Do you remember the date when you escaped? Just for the record.
Yeah. It was the early part of April. I'm not sure.
Of 45.
45. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, what were your feelings when you heard that Germany had surrendered?
Well, I was back in England by this time when VE Day happened, and actually I'd had my leave, and can't remember exactly whether I heard it the next day was going to be VE Day when I was with my relatives and decided to go back to London, or whether it just happened. But on VE Day I was in London on VE Day.
So a big celebration.
A big celebration. Everybody was, you couldn't, if you ever got a pint of beer, you just hung on to your glass because you'd never get another one. So they just filled your glass up there.
Oh, you wanted to keep the glass, yeah?
Well, because they never had everybody had one, so there's none coming out of the
Right.
clubs because everybody was holding one.
Right. So how'd you feel?
Well, it was quite exciting. It was, I knew the war was going to be over for me, so it was kind of a relief that now the war is all over for all the Brits there, because they had a pretty tough time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you got discharged early, didn't you?
Yeah, I came home before I was home on VJ Day. I was back in Cities, I think I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home shortly after that. And so I was one of the first to get back.
That was August then, I suppose.
Well, I was back before August. I was back in July, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Because I think VJ Day was in August sometime.
So what was it feeling stepping foot on Canadian soil?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Actually, I came back on I think it was the Balmer Dam, the boat, and I was in Halifax. I was able to buy a newspaper, and it had the picture of the boat we came back on.
Oh yeah.
At the time, I figured it was, I could see me standing on this boat when the guy took the picture, because it takes quite a while to get everybody disembarked from the boat. So they had this picture, and it's on the front page of this Halifax paper. So I've kept it. I still got that paper.
Oh, good for you. What kind of attitudes did people have towards you guys? The civilians, I mean.
Well, they were all. Everybody was glad the war was over, and they were glad that made it home and everything. And, it was everybody was in party mode.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. So did you go straight from Halifax right back to
Vancouver?
Here?
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Right from That was about 5 days on the train, I think it was.
Right. What was that like arriving back?
Well, it was pretty good. We got back in Vancouver. I can't remember exactly how I got in contact with home, but I must have, because they were all there to meet me at the station. I came into Vancouver, and at the train station they must have said when we were coming, and so all my friends and relatives were all
There
at
we
the station.
Huh. So what was it like? What was it like becoming a civilian again?
Well,
What did you do first?
I'd quit school when I was 16 and went to work, and I went to work in the sash and door factory. And during the time when I came home and was getting out of the service, I talked to these people, and they said there's a job there for me, so I just, as soon as I got out of the army, went just back to working where I was working before.
Regular work.
Yep.
A lot of guys have said that. So do you think that the vets have been treated well?
I got no quarrel with the way I've been treated. A lot of the things that they have for the vets, somehow the word doesn't get out until, or I never hear about it until after everybody's had all these here things that you can get. When I came back, a lot of these here things where they told you about what's going to happen in civilian life wasn't in place yet. So I never got any information as to what that they had some money that was sent you and certain things that you could do with it, buy property and things like that. Mm-hmm. I never ever got the information that a lot of the ones that came after me were told how to handle this, and I kind of missed out on that because I didn't get that information. But I'm not really sorry about it. It's just that I was glad to get home when I got home. So
right. Tell me, what are your feelings on Remembrance Day?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one. For a long time myself, I never went to Remembrance Day, as I just didn't feel up to it.
Right.
But I have in the last 20 years, I think, in that somewhere like that, gone to the Remembrance Day services and that.
Is it's just hard to remember again?
It's hard. I find it hard.
Yeah. Do you belong to any veterans organizations?
I belong to the Legion.
Right. And so do you guys chat, or how does that work?
I never ever heard any of the guys talk about the service.
No, No? Okay. Do you still maintain any friendships or contacts with people that you knew during the war?
I had a couple of those. The fellow that him and I dug our first trench with, he sought me out through the Legion magazine, and I wasn't belonging to the Legion at the time. This was about 25 years or more ago. But a friend of mine I was working with, his wife read, like in the Legion magazine, they have a spot for if you're looking for somebody. And so, anyways, his wife recognized my name there, and so he brought the magazine to me and said, somebody's looking for you here. Of course, that was quite a number of years after the war, like maybe 25 or 30 years or something. So I didn't remember what the guy's name was now, because I just never. I'm trying not to think about all those things for all those years. So I was trying to put that out of my mind. So anyways, I was sitting with a good friend of mine, and I said, somebody's put my name in the Legion magazine and was looking for me, and I says, I can't remember, don't recognize his name, don't know what to say to him. Anyways, he just picked up the phone, and this guy lived in Saskatchewan, and but we were in Westminster at the time, and he just picked up the phone and asked for information, and the guy's name and address was on this little thing, and just like that, the guy picks up the phone and says hello, and so my friend hands me the phone, so I'm talking to this fella, and I says, you had my name in the Legion magazine. He says, oh yeah. I guess maybe he had done that a couple of months or so before and forgotten about it. So I asked him who he was, and right away I knew who it was.
Right.
But, so after that I went to a couple of regimental reunions because he was there.
Right.
And then I've met a few other people that I had been with.
Right.
And, there's a few that I still know, but he has also died, and most of all the other guys that I ever knew that I were friends with, they're all gone too. So.
Right. good that you kept up
Yeah.
a little bit anyways, you know.
Well, I got into it, like I say, maybe 20 years ago, but I didn't want to do it at the beginning.
Yeah. That's about it. Is there anything that I've missed?
Well, I wouldn't mind mentioning about when I was in, after I got back to our lines in continental Europe, that we were near Hanover, and some American pilot there volunteered his time to fly us back to Brussels. And so there was about 25 of us at that time. It was just a cargo plane. It was a Dakota. And we took off and we went to Brussels, and then from Brussels another group of British pilots. It was in a Sterling bomber, and it was just a cargo plane too. We all just sat